Hi everybody. It is the 26th of February 2011, and this would be my February update. Well, I got tired of staying indoors during the horrendous snowstorms that we've had here in the Midwest this year, so I got busy building what I've always wanted to build, which is a enclosure for the hydroponic garden. So this is my kind of ramshackle homemade hydroponic garden enclosure, which includes the one garden, and I built a second garden because I got bored and I didn't have anything else to do. All of the surrounding material is silver lame, and believe it or not, very inexpensive, cheap wrapping paper from the dollar store, which has got a highly reflective surface now. The lighting in the room, you can see that there's not a lot of light bleed and all the crap I have in the background, but nonetheless, when you lift the veil, it is extremely bright inside. So let's start with the usual updates. Cucumber plant doing extremely well, and I'm very excited because these are the first couple of flowers that I've gotten from the plant so far. And one thing I've noticed is that cucumbers absolutely love rope, so this is actually climbing up a rope, which I'm very pleased with. Spearmint finally is coming along very, very well. It's a little spindly, but I've had to cut the sage back quite a bit because sage grew really quickly. So I'm finally getting spearmint of a decent quantity. I have the ground cherries, and as you can see, the ground cherries are just full of pods. I had to cut this back quite a bit as well because it was starting to affect the growth of the plant how many of these I had actually hand-pollinated, so I had to cut a few of them back. Rosemary, enough said. I've taken cuttings upon cuttings upon cuttings off of rosemary, and it just continues to just grow really well. Parsley, really, really well established, just really well established. Very pleased. I use parsley for everything, so I'm constantly in parsley. Oregano, you can't even really see the top of the growing chambers anymore with the oregano. It is really starting to just spread really well, so I do have to take a couple of cuttings off of that. Basil in the back, each of those leaves is roughly about 2 inches long, maybe about 3 at the most. But I had to cut a lot of the basil off the other plants because we made a big, huge batch of pesto, and it was absolutely delicious. Thyme continues to grow well. Again, it's being crowded out by some of the other plants, but nonetheless, once I cut the oregano down and give that away, then it will come back with no trouble. But the real stellar here is the pineapple mint, which I don't know if you can see this, but it is just really robust growth, really, really robust. And since I've reacquainted my love of mojitos, I just went ahead and ground it right in, and it's delicious. Sage, I've had to start propping up the sage plants because they just grow so thick and healthy that, I've got sage to last for 1,000 years. The big basil plant that I used to have in the back, I chopped down because it started to get a little woodsy and a little spindly. So this is the remnants that, as you can see, is starting to regenerate just very nicely and doing very well. The entire system is an ebb and flow system, and if you've watched my other videos, then you know that it is on a watering cycle of 4 times a day, or roughly every 6 hours. Lights stay on 12 to 16 hours a day. Depending upon what season it is. Right now I am in a 16-hour-a-day light cycle. And as you can see, I was a little reserved about using silver lame, but it's the cheapest fabric I could find at the fabric store. And it's much cheaper than $25 a yard for Mylar. So does a fine job. If any of you are looking for a cheap way to just reflect a bunch of light and keep it contained, I would say go to your fabric store and buy everything they've got of silver lame. It's the cheapest fabric out there. Anyway, Thai plant, don't think we have any issues here. You can see that the leaves are just really a nice healthy green. They continue to grow really well, and specifically in here because the ambient temperature has gotten to be about 74 degrees on an average, and it stays very well insulated. And really no issues there. It seems to take to it very well. But here's my my new introduction, which I'm very pleased with. This is a new growing chamber that I just made during one of the heavy snowstorms here. And in it I have started, let me get a distance shot here, a bunch of little plants. And these are really only about 30 days old. So I'm particularly pleased with how they've all kind of adapted very well to this. So I'll start with the walk down here. Now this is a a drip system, as you can all see, and if any of you have ever used drip systems, you know, sometimes they can be a little bit temperamental, but the one thing I've learned in doing all of this is if you keep the water lines pressurized in a very closed loop kind of fashion, then it'll keep it just fine. This entire system works off of one reservoir, and the way that it works, reservoir pumps the water up, it comes down through the woodpecker spikes into the individual watering containers. The individual watering containers then drain out through a central drain system. That central drain system then comes down into the relief chamber, and it then drains into what is now a new lettuce bed. Cat took care of the old lettuce bed, so my experiment about growing under blue lights and growing under regular lights kind of got off track, but what was left, the salad, was absolutely delicious. Let me turn on the watering system now, and I can give you a quick demonstration of how it all works. The reservoir is underneath the gravel pit, and I don't know if you can make out that lettering, but for the most part, the entire rig works on 2 gallons of water, and very, very efficient. I'm very pleased with it. I have had no algae growth in the water. Some would argue that this is not a good thing because too much light gets into the water, but putting it under the rock strata, and there's really not any more than about a half an inch of rock in there, if there's any algae in it, then it seems to grow inside on top of the rocks, where it really does kind of a negligible harm. I just turned the system on, and as you can see, the wastewater that is coming down, or the rinse water, or the drain water, whatever you want to call it, that comes down from the rest of the system up above, filters down through the drain and drains down into the rock reservoir, which then gives all of the plants down here, these are all new lettuce growing in. Again, I wanted to keep a steady supply of lettuce, and that unfortunately didn't happen. But I've also started some heirloom strawberries, and I have some spinach in here which hasn't started yet, so it seems like the lettuce is coming up first, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Anyway, for any of you looking for a cheap way to do this, I hacked apart a simple storage container that I had laying around, and put the same type of pump in there I have in the other rig, and just ran the tubing out, simple joint connection, up the sides, and pressurizing all of the tubes with all of their individual little connectors. Very, very simple, very, very cheap, very, very ineffective. Very, very effective, excuse me. So let's get started with this. First and foremost, we have tarragon. Russian tarragon is the variety I chose to use because I like the flavor of it. It's got a nice kind of mix of spicy and sweet. These are alpine strawberries, which I started literally at the day I got this rig up and going, which was about 30 days ago. So this is all nice, lush, favorable growth. And you can see that the leaves are nice. It's got trailers and runners everywhere. The one thing I'm particularly proud of here is cilantro. And if you've ever looked at any of my other videos, you know that I have never been able to grow cilantro. In this particular type of rig setup, cilantro grows incredibly well. I'm very pleased with that. In the back there, I have some blueberries, which have not started yet. And I have cantaloupe, which is an heirloom variety of cantaloupe. A couple of tomato plants, which are a little spindly at the moment, but I'm working on that to try and increase the light reflectiveness inside the growing chamber. And a couple of blueberry setups. As you can tell, I'm a big berry freak. I love berries, and I like to keep going with berries. Anyway, another lettuce. My tomato plant, which I am purposely growing out and down the side. Particularly happy with this. It seems like it's taken very well to a mixed climate. Another ground cherry plant, not as propagated as the other one, but that's okay because I want this one to grow a little bit more slowly. The other one took over its environment really, really quickly. In the back we have another strawberry plant. We have some more lettuce. This is going to be a summer squash. I just put these in a couple of days ago. Blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries in the back. What have I gotten from the ground cherries so far? Well, this is what I'm getting about every week. This represents about I don't know, maybe as many as 20 individual little ground cherries coming out of the plants. But the point that I'm more concerned about was that it would actually grow, that it would actually bring the fruit to fruition, and you can see that it does that. Now, I've been munching on these fairly steadily, and I can tell you that even hydroponically grown, they are absolutely delicious. So if you've not grown ground cherries before, I would definitely say give it a try. This is my setup for now, and you can see that, as I said in my other videos, the expansiveness of the 2-liter bottle using it in this particular rig setup, I was concerned that I wouldn't get a lot of root growth, but I don't know if you can see really well in there. That's the cucumber, and it does not really have a whole lot of roots in there as compared to the parsley, which is just absolutely jam-packed with roots. However, none of the roots have actually grown down into the tubing, so I'm very, very pleased with that. But overall, time and materials, I'm still at about $200 for both rig sets up. But that is assumptive, of course, that I had already had the shelving, and I only had to augment with a couple of lights. So, that is my update for February. I will keep you abreast of what's going on. Thank you all for your comments, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.